Welcome to The Relay, a podcast from Gulf Relay where we dive behind the scenes of our operations, teams, and industry.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to this week's episode of The Relay. Today we are joined by our Chief Operating Officer, Andy Vanzant, which we are very excited to have him back. And today's topic is sort of going to be a little bit on the market, what we're seeing on the asset division, kind of what we're studying, what we're looking at overall to sort of help make our decisions going into the latter half of the year. So, Andy, initial thoughts? How do you feel about where we are right now?
Real quick, let's talk 30,000 foot level across the industry as opposed to just here at Gulf Relay, but across the industry, the last 4 or 5 weeks, and you can see in some publications the public carriers are starting to say, hey, they're feeling a little better. They're starting to see more offerings from their current customer base. They're not having to take any more rate decreases. It does seem that the rates have flatlined after this year's bid season, so that's been a big plus. Here at Gulf Relay, I can tell you we've seen something similar. Our largest customers throughout the Southeast have certainly been able to populate us with more loads and more volume on a daily basis and weekly basis, and so that's been a nice feature. Miles are up 2 to 3% depending upon what day of the week it's been, that kind of stuff. We have seen days as much as 5 to 7% up on miles. Rates are still about the same. We've not really gone after any rate increases or anything like that with any of our customers to date. But we're seeing things to get a little bit better. Driver population is really good right now. We are seeing a very high quality driver model show up in our orientation classes, so we've been real pleased with that. We've been able to add some trucks. We're at this point in time of this video, we're plus 14 on seated trucks year over year, so that's a phenomenal number. Things seem to be going in the right direction here at Gulf Relay right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I was reading an article on FreightWaves the other day, for those of you that watch FreightWaves, and what they were reporting is that actual tenders for freight are up 7.1% from May 26th to June 3rd, and that appears to be the largest summer spike since summer of 2019, which sounds great. It doesn't necessarily mean that rates are up, but it does sort of show that we're shifting towards stabilization as far as volumes in the market. As we all know, one of our commodities here is beverage, premium waters, and so we're looking for that to sort of pop off and our volumes increase a little bit in the summer. So as far as the latter half of the year, what are you sort of thinking about where we're headed?
Second half, I hope that this trend continues. Again, 4 to 5 weeks is not necessarily what I would call an adjustment, but hopefully it's an inflection point that sort of indicates at least a rise on the other side of this thing, because it's been a really, really tough 18 months or so as we've had to ride the waves down of less miles and less rate and some things like that. But yet at the same time, here at our company, we're trying to maintain the same, equipment purchasing pattern, the same type of quality of driver. We've not relinquished any of those types of things of who we are at our foundation. That's been costly, but it's not going to change our course of who we're going to be for the next umpteen years. And so the second half of this year, I hope, let's just say it, because nobody knows, is that we continue on this trend and on an upward, and we can go back to some new customers after the bid cycles that are done in Q1 that are over now. Hopefully there'll be some new bid cycles come Q3 that can lead us into peak, and we can go from there. Obviously, one thing that's big in the second half of this year that some folks are talking about, but not a lot, is the impact of the SAP program changes that come into effect November 18th. Just as a reminder, for those that are out there that watch this video, effective November 18th of this year, anyone in the substance abuse program, their CDL will go into a suspended status if they have not completed all 6 steps of the SAP program. So the carriers that are hiring drivers today in the SAP program that have not completed all 6 steps will lose that driver effective November 19th if in fact that person has not completed his or her 6 steps. Now they've got 5-6 months to get that finished from the time of this video, so more than ample time to get steps 3, 4, 5, 6 done, whatever the case may be, and still be able to drive and contribute to our driver population across the nation. But there's going to be some fallout to that, and it happens right as peak starts. They're in mid-November, just before Thanksgiving, so don't know what the impact of that's going to be. And then of course the second half of the year, as we're debating here at Gulf Relay, what are we going to do about a pre-buy for 2027 truck emissions? And now obviously that's probably 12 to 18 months off, but we're having to think about the financing of that and what the impact's going to be. How many carriers are going to be buying 2026 trucks because they don't want to spend the extra $25,000 or whatever the number ends up being for a new 2027 emissions engine come mid 2026 when they place those orders and production begins. So we've got about 18 months here to figure out how many we want to buy in the year 25 and in the year 26 before the price increase of 27 emissions. So a lot of things going on here this next 6 months that I don't know what impact any of those things could be, but they loom large.
Yes, obviously, as far as it relates to the SAP program, if those drivers do not finish it, that is going to remove probably a significant amount of drivers from the driving force. And then in that case, once that happens, you should start to see tender rejections sort of rise, which is something that I watch for as indications, just who's rejecting what freight.
Right.
Currently, tender rejections are still sub 5%. In a good, solid, stable market, they're typically about 5 to 7% on average, but they are trending upward, which is a good thing. And you hate to see capacity exit the market, but that's kind of what we need, and we need those tender rejections, because once those really start to get back up to that 5 to 7%, that's when it'll really be a key sign that, hey, this is leveling out a little bit.
That's right. Agreed.
But
a couple of other things that I look at for as far as market indications. Obviously, I talk to, I network a fair amount with competitors that are friends of mine and our companies, and how they're doing, what they're doing. A lot are feeling kind of the same things that we are right now about what are you look at? You read the FreightWave Sonar reports. You look at the tender rejections. We look at our EDI acceptance ratios here and some things like that. So, all are turning upward. Now they're not on a U. They're on a slight incline. So, and that's okay. That would be perfectly fine if it got on a slight incline and moved in the right direction. One other thing, that we look at too from market indicators are any pushback from a bid that we have done, say 3 to 4, 6 months ago, something like that. Are there any fallback either in a mini bid, some fallout from somebody else, unable to handle a certain lane or things like that? We're starting to see a few of those come back to us from some of the bigger shippers, just saying, hey, would you entertain this lane? Would you entertain that lane? And I don't know that it's not growth in that lane. But it also could be another carrier has just said, look, I can't do it for this rate. I don't have the capacity anymore. Some of those types of things. That too is an indicator of what I look for in a market. And then lastly, one of the bigger things I also look for is any project work. Project work is always, that is a good thing, okay, from a manufacturing setting, because they say, look, I've got this one big something to go on this weekend and I need 5 trucks to go here and shuttle trailers all over the place and do this right here. That's not the normal business, but that's something an investment from that company has done with one of their customers or some of their customers. And they're reaching out to carriers like us to say, look, we need somebody just to take care of this one thing for 3 days. We'll pay you X dollars and then go on. And that's a nice feature as well, because that work has been lost for the last 2 years.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, the project work. So yes, we are looking positively going up. Slow incline is much better than a sharp decline, which we have seen. But Andy, thank you for your time and for your insights. It's nice to have you, since we haven't had you on these in quite a minute. Good. But we're going to change that. And thank you guys for your attention, and y'all have a great rest of your day and stay safe out there.